If you go back to the scientists of old, science was seen as fundamentally religious pursuit. You go back, like, there was, I actually printed out a list here of, old scientists just because there were so many to look into. Pope Sylvester II was actually called the Math Pope. And he did so much in math that he was actually at one point accused of sorcery. It was a really hilarious act, more political than anything else. A guy tried to accuse him of sorcery because of how how excellent he was in his mathematical predictions and
Sounds
stuff.
like a compliment.
And so they actually had a whole trial, and the guy, he wasn't the Pope at the time, he became Pope later, and he completely humiliated the guy who was bringing the accusations, because it was, it's obviously it wasn't sorcery, it was math.
So he was a man of faith.
Yeah, he was a man of faith, but he was also a man of science.
Huh.
You go to, I think also people like Copernicus and Galileo. People like to look at those conflicts between astronomers and the church at the time to cite those. Copernicus worked in a cathedral in a position that was normally reserved for priests.
Oh, wow.
So, and he was, even though there was controversy and criticism over his work, his stuff was never really banned. It was never officially banned. He was actually urged to publish by the Catholic bishop, what's his name, Guys, and a cardinal as well as a pope. He was encouraged to publish his stuff.
Sorry, publish his Christian stuff or his scientific?
His scientific, his astronomy stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Kepler taught at and Kepler also in astronomy. He taught at a seminary.
Oh, wow.
He was a Protestant.
Kepler.
Yeah. He was a Protestant who wanted to be a minister. Galileo was actually good friends with the Pope. The Pope actually commissioned him to write his dialogue. And what he was writing was a dialogue between two people with opposing views on whether the Earth was the center of the solar system or whether the sun was. And that was the debate of the time. And the issue was, and so the Pope held the view that the Earth was the center, and Galileo held the view that the sun was the center. But the Pope asked him, look, I understand this is a controversial issue, it's an important issue, and he trusted Galileo to write an unbiased view of these two views.
So Galileo was a Christian?
Yeah, Galileo was a Christian.
Wow, they don't teach you that one in school.
And so this dialogue he wrote was two people debating the idea. And the problem was that the name that he gave to the guy who was defending the Pope's view he was named it after a Greek, I believe it was a Greek philosopher named Simplicitus. And I think it was Simplicitus or something like that. And some people accused him of using that name to say that the Pope was simple-minded.
Oh.
And that's where that was actually where the controversy came from. So it wasn't actually that he wrote the thing, but rather that people accused him of insulting the Pope when he did write it, and that triggered their falling out. You look at someone like Francis Bacon, who's considered the father of empiricism, and he had very harsh things to say about atheists, to the point where he thought that it was impossible to do science as an atheist, because to be a scientist, you had to have faith that the universe was obeying constant, unchanging laws. And an atheist had no reason to believe such a thing. Like, you had to believe that the universe had a lawgiver in order to hold the view that the universe had unchanging laws. You look at the father of genetics is Gregory Mendel. Right?
This takes me back to bio.
Mendelian genetics, right? In the Punnett squares, we probably all learned in high school.
Right.
He's the father of genetics. He was an abbot at an abbey.
Oh, wow.
So,
this is so fascinating.
Yeah. So
they don't teach you this piece.
Yeah. So all of the great scientists, even Isaac Newton, he wrote more theology than he wrote on physics. Even we consider him the father of modern physics. Now, a lot of his theology was wrong.
Really?
Well, he was, it was funny. He was arguing against the existence of the Trinity.
Interesting.
But he was doing it because the main defense of the Trinity at his time, was based on a verse that wasn't in the original text. So he's actually a textual critic. He was going analyzing early versions of the Bible. He's saying the verse that you're citing, it's a verse from 1 John that usually isn't included in our modern day Bibles. That was used as a defense of the Trinity. He's like, hey, this verse isn't in early manuscripts. So he's actually a textual critic.
Oh, wow.
Of the Bible.
On the right track, but...
Yeah, on the right track. So yeah, all of these old scientists, they considered science an expression, their study of science as an expression of their faith.
Wow.